Holden Caulfield was right about a few things. I'm going to talk about 5. Welcome back, y'all. Welcome back. Today, I'm doing a quick review of The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. And let's just jump into it. So the main character's name is Holden Caulfield. He is a 16, 17-year-ish prep school kid. He keeps getting kicked out of prep schools and he decides, you know what? I'm just going to leave. Like, I'm already kicked out. I'm not going to wait until my parents come pick me up. I'm going to go roam New York City real quick. I'm going to stay out here and see what it's like surviving, roaming the city until I got to go back home. So that's what he does. 16-year-old, 16, 17, roaming the city and getting in all kind of stuff. But I'm going to back up a little bit because Holden is an interesting main character. He is, yes, he's a bratty like teenager, but he also is dealing with a lot. It's a lot of unpacked feelings there. He's dealing with unresolved trauma. He's dealing with grief, like lingering grief. He's dealing with loneliness, trying to figure out the world and trying to like see where he fits in, like looking at adults in the adult world and just thinking like he calls everything phony. Like, this is so phony. This is phony. And just trying to make sense of it all. Like, why is this way? Like, why are kids supposed to do this and adults can do that? Like, why is there this kind of double standard? And just looking at what adults do as like pointless in a lot of ways. So I'm just going to jump into that. He ends up losing somebody close to him. And that, like I said, that's the unresolved grief and trauma that he's dealing with. And it's a lot. Like he's a 16-year-old, so it's hard for him to process that. And then he feels alone in processing it. Like the other people around him, the adults deal with it a different way. And it's hard for him to like really cope. It's hard for him to bounce back because it's a hard thing to bounce back from. So like I said, he keeps getting expelled from schools and he's just having a really hard time getting back on track. The one class he doesn't fail, he's like failing all his classes except English. He does decently at English and you could kind of, you see, I don't know. I just feel like his character, while the book is super short and he's not doing anything like off the wall spectacular. It's like a real life account of how I would think somebody during this time frame would handle grief, trauma, and stuff like that. And you get into his mind, what he thinks about his teachers, his parents, like the school, whoever, the people at the bar. Like, he is all over the place in this book. And he smoked like a chimney. I mean, cigarettes out the wazoo. He just throwing them back. But that's another story. But anyways, I want to talk about 5 things that Holden Caulfield was right about, because he had a lot of, the way he saw the world, his worldview, had a lot of good points. So I'm going to talk about 5 of them. Most adults are performing. I would agree with Holden Caulfield there. Especially like in different environments, like at work, at school, online, with their kids, when you go to church. Like, not everybody, obviously there are exceptions, but from a teenager's perspective, I can see how you could look and be like, it does seem fake. I mean, I'm just saying. So I feel like he was correct in that. I do think most people, I mean, politicians, the list goes on. Most people, I think, do perform and are kind of phony to some extent. So I think Holden, he got that one right. The second thing that Holden was right about is grief does fester. It lingers. It is not like, oh, it's been a year, it's done, time to wrap it up. Like, the way it manifests physically, emotionally, mentally, it does linger like in your bones. And so I feel like he was right about that. And you can't tell somebody how to grieve. Like, you cannot say, this is the right way to grieve. This is not the right way. There are unhealthy ways to grieve for sure. but also like you're an outsider looking in. You know what I mean? So I feel like Holden, he was on to something with that one. He was on to something. Another thing Holden was on to, like I said, he's been kicked out of plenty of prep schools, but I think he had the belief that institutions crush individuality. And I agree to some extent. I do believe there is a heavy, heavy pressure to conform, especially for kids, especially in schools. I do feel like there's a heavy pressure to conform. And then that even carries over into adulthood where you're in a workplace, online, you're operating within a social structure and you are expected to behave a certain way. They don't really want to see outliers like that. They like, forget these anomalies, like keep it in a bell curve. You know what I mean? So I think he was on to something with that too. Another thing, Holden, he was right about this one. Most people don't want honesty. They want comfort. Call it a defense mechanism, call it whatever, but I do believe that's true. You could call it, insert adjective here. You can call it whatever you want. But yeah, I do agree with that. I feel like I just feel like there's like this fragile element that a lot of people have. I feel like most people have it. Some are more guarded than others. And it's just some things like you can even take honesty in all of these areas, but there are some things where you like, this is untouchable. Like, I want to keep this as a comfort zone. I don't need you critiquing it. I don't want opinions. I don't want advice. I don't want anything because this is my safe space. It's not for you. It's not for outside opinions. Like, it's not for you to tell me about, even if it's right. I don't care that you mean well and you're honest about it. It's not up for debate. And I think he's right about that. It is a comfort thing. It is something that's like highly guarded. Even if, like, I feel like I can take feedback relatively well, but there are some things where I'm like, did you really just critique that? Like, all of this stuff it's on the table, but this over here, you really don't have, you shouldn't be saying nothing about that. Even if I trust their opinion over here, I don't want it over here. So I think he had some validity to that as well. And lastly, being different, being on the outskirts, being non-conforming, having a different outlook on life, grieving longer than the people around you, even if it's about the same thing, that is not romantic. It is very much isolating. And I feel like the book did a really good job at showing how Holden was getting through that. And even the people around him, how he felt alone, how he felt unsafe, how he didn't trust the world, how he didn't trust adults, how he just had to like navigate that. And it wasn't like, oh, I'm such a cool loner, like smoking some cigarettes. I'm so cool and I'm so alone. It was very much like nobody can relate to me, and it's isolating and it's lonely. And I feel like he raised a good point with that. JD Salinger did a good job at writing this book. I see why they have kids read it. It's recommended in a lot of high school required readings, maybe middle of high school required readings. I could see why. And I'm glad I read it. And so the thing about this is I read this in high school. I read this in high school. I skimmed over this in high school. Let's be real. I was like, what do I need to know to write this paper? What do I need to know to take this quiz? I'm not trying to get all up in Holden's brain. What do I need to know? And so I kind of went through it in a rush in high school. And I actually wrote my paper on the mental state of Holden Caulfield. I wrote my paper on how he was struggling with mental illness and his mental health at that time. And that's something that really weighed on me heavy when I was in high school because I felt like I could relate to a lot of that stuff. And then I read it again in 2018 with somebody else as a buddy read. And we talked about it. She actually pulled in, like, she really didn't even focus on Holden at the time, really, when we did our discussion at the end. She focused on his parents and his little sister. And I thought that was cool. He has a little sister named Phoebe and some parents. And she focused on their like point of view. It's not told in the book. It's like speculation, but based on what Holden was saying, she focused on the adult perspective and little Phoebe's perspective of the book, which I thought was super cool. And then this time I just read it by myself, 2025. And why did I read it again? I just wanted to. I saw it on the shelf, like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna read this, and I'm glad I did. I was just in the mood for it. I wanted to revisit, see what else I can get from it. And every time I read it, I feel like I got something new from it, something different, something a little bit better. And that's how I know it's a good book to me. Every time I read it, I feel like I got something fresh and new and something I didn't pick up on the last time I read it. So, what's some books like that to you that every time you read them, it's something new, refreshing, or like eye opening in it that you didn't really catch the first read? So, let me know, y'all. That's it for The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. I'll see y'all on the next one.